Yeah, that was frustrating, but honestly, it didn't really matter. It might have been a good thing at some point not to know. So yeah, I didn't really know what was going on. We had some radio issues for sure.
Alex Bowman's playoff dreams just ended at Bristol, and Kevin Harvick isn't staying quiet about why it happened. The former champion is calling out some serious mistakes that cost Bowman his shot at the title. Alex Bowman's 2025 playoff run has been nothing short of a disaster. What started as a promising championship chase turned into a complete meltdown, and it all came crashing down at Bristol Motor Speedway last weekend. Despite finishing 8th in the race, Bowman fell 10 points short of advancing to the round of 12, officially ending his title hopes. But here's the thing that really stings. This elimination wasn't because of bad luck or getting wrecked by another driver. According to Kevin Harvick, this was a complete organizational failure that cost Bowman his championship dreams. Heading into Bristol, Bowman was already in serious trouble. He sat 35 points below the playoff cut line, which meant he essentially needed a miracle to keep his season alive. How did he get into such a deep hole? 2 absolutely brutal pit stops that completely destroyed any momentum he had built during the summer. First came Darlington, where a disastrous 40-second pit stop turned what could have been a solid day into a 31st place finish. Think about that for a second. 40 seconds on pit road. In NASCAR, that's basically like giving every other car a full lap head start. That's not just slow, that's catastrophically bad. Then came Gateway, where another slow pit stop led to a 26th place finish. 2 races, 2 pit road disasters, and suddenly Bowman found himself staring at elimination with just 1 race left to save his season. The situation got so bad that Hendrick Motorsports made a drastic decision before Bristol. They completely overhauled Bowman's pit crew, swapping almost everyone except the fueler with the crew from Carson Hocevar's number 77 Spire Motorsports team. This wasn't just a small adjustment, this was throwing everything out and starting over with just 1 race left in the round. Bowman himself admitted he wasn't deeply involved in the decision, saying those crew members had been fast at times throughout the year and were great athletes. But when you're facing elimination, sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. The Bristol race weekend started with some hope. A.J. Allmendinger grabbed the pole position with a speed of 126.930 miles per hour, marking his first pole since Watkins Glen back in 2015. Bowman qualified 15th, which wasn't spectacular, but gave him a decent starting position to make something happen. The race itself turned into a tire management game, with Goodyear bringing softer compounds that created significant fall-off throughout the night. This added another layer of strategy that teams had to navigate. And for a team already struggling with execution, it was just one more thing that could go wrong. Christopher Bell ended up winning the race, securing his spot in the round of 12, while Bowman's season came to an end despite that 8th place finish. Sometimes in the playoffs, decent just isn't good enough when you're that far behind in points.
Hits him! Hits him hard!
Good, perfect. Stay on
Bell
it, dude.
sustains it, and Bell's gonna drive to victory! How about that? Christopher Bell in Bristol! That was beautiful! What a spectacular end!
This is where Kevin Harvick stepped in with some of the harshest criticism we've heard all season. Speaking on his Happy Hour podcast, Harvick didn't just point fingers at the pit crew, he went straight after the entire organizational structure of the number 48 team. Harvick explained that the Hendrick cars just haven't had the speed they expected in the opening round of the playoffs. He mentioned there was a little hope at St. Louis, where they typically don't run well. But overall, it was a tough first round that didn't meet expectations. Harvick even admitted he picked Kyle Larson to win at Bristol, but Larson was nowhere to be found all day. When Kyle Larson struggles at Bristol, you know something seriously wrong with your program. But Harvick's real frustration came when he talked about the mistakes that put Bowman in this position. He pointed out that when you're behind, you start pressing on everything. Pit road speed, strategy, everything becomes desperate. The number 48 team was swinging for the fences trying to make something happen, but they were doing it from a hole they dug themselves. Here's where Harvick really let them have it. He said the number 48 team seems disorganized and that a lot of mistakes put them in that elimination position. Even though they had speed, there were speeding penalties and other issues throughout the year that took away from weekends where they actually had competitive cars. Then came the most damning part of Harvick's criticism. He brought up what he called the debacle on pit road with pit guns not being plugged in. Whether that was the final conclusion or not, Harvick made it clear this was a preparation and organizational error. He called it a fundamental mistake that showed structural problems with how the number 48 pit box was set up and managed. Harvick's message was simple but brutal. Don't beat yourself. He said if he was part of that team, he'd be looking at the situation thinking they really just took themselves out of championship contention. This criticism cuts especially deep because it's coming from Kevin Harvick, someone who knows what it takes to win championships and run successful race teams. When a driver of his caliber says you're making fundamental mistakes, that's not just criticism. That's a wake-up call about serious organizational problems. The really frustrating part for Bowman and his fans is that this team showed they had speed during the summer. Bowman had 7 top 10 finishes in the 11 races before the playoffs started. He looked like a lock to at least make the round of 12, if not go deeper into the playoffs. Bowman himself has been brutally honest about how bad things got. He called the past 2 weeks embarrassing and said it was mortifying how bad we've been. He made it clear this wasn't from lack of effort, acknowledging that everyone at Hendrick Motorsports was working hard, but they just couldn't put complete race days together when it mattered most. The mental toll has been obvious too. Bowman admitted that going through these past couple of weeks hasn't been fun, though he noted that mentally it hasn't been a fun time for him over the past couple of years anyway. That's a pretty revealing comment about the pressure and struggles he's been dealing with. Going into Bristol, Bowman said the must-win situation was almost less stressful because they weren't close to the cut line trying not to make mistakes. They had to make something happen, which in some ways freed them up to be more aggressive. Despite all the crew changes and drama, Bowman made it clear he had no hard feelings toward his former crew members. He said he's friends with all those guys and appreciates their hard work. He even said it wouldn't surprise him if they had an amazing day on pit road with the number 77 car and looked really good. But Harvick's criticism goes beyond just Bowman's team. He sees this as part of a bigger problem with Hendrick Motorsports as a whole. The organization that's been the standard in NASCAR for years suddenly looks vulnerable, especially compared to Joe Gibbs Racing, which Harvick called the class of the field right now. The tire situation at Bristol added another interesting element to the race. Kevin Harvick said that the industry had asked for tire fall-off to make racing more competitive, and Bristol delivered on that front. The softer compounds created a tire management game that reminded drivers of their late-model racing experience. Christopher Bell, who won the race, talked about how nervous he was on older tires and how they would push up in the middle of corners. The tire strategy became crucial, and teams that could manage their rubber had a significant advantage. For Alex Bowman, this elimination has to be devastating. He came into the playoffs as one of only 2 drivers without a win, but he had momentum from that strong summer stretch. To see it all fall apart because of preventable mistakes has to be incredibly frustrating.
Why don't you do burnouts like that?
Nobody ever thought a YouTuber could shake up NASCAR, but that's exactly what happened. Cletus McFarland showed up, turned heads, and left even Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying things may never be the same again. Garrett Mitchell, better known as Cletus McFarland, wasn't born into racing royalty. He didn't grow up with factory sponsorships or family teams. He started with a camera, a garage, and a knack for making car content that felt raw and fun. His YouTube channel grew from silly experiments into a motorsport empire. In 2015, everything changed. During a random video, his buddy called him Cletus as a joke. Fans latched onto it. Garrett leaned in, adopted the character, and built a brand around this personality who loved horsepower, burnouts, and freedom. Behind the humor was a sharp business mind and years of filming for 1320 Video. By the time the Cletus name exploded, he was ready to turn it into something unstoppable. He didn't stop at videos. He built the Freedom Factory, an abandoned Florida speedway turned into a playground. He created wild builds like Leroy the Savage, a stripped-down Corvette that became legendary online. He organized events like the Freedom 500, burnout competitions, and drag shootouts, all streamed to millions eager to watch not just the cars, but the chaos. By the time he dipped into professional racing, he wasn't just another rookie. He was bringing an army of fans with him, millions online, thousands traveling to watch, and more tuning in from home. When Cletus entered the ARCA Menard Series race at Daytona in 2025, expectations were low. He was an internet guy stepping into one of the most famous tracks in the world. The result on track was rough. He crashed out and finished 30th. But the real story was off the track. His in-car stream pulled in over 40,000 live viewers. Fox Sports coverage featuring him surged past 5.8 million views. That's over 10 times what a typical ARCA broadcast delivers. The Daily Downforce reported it was the most watched ARCA Daytona race since 2013. That's when NASCAR executives started sweating. Then came Talladega. Despite engine trouble, Cletus finished in the top 10, completing all 77 laps. His YouTube in-car stream peaked at 60,000 live viewers. Veteran driver Kenny Wallace admitted Cletus had undeniable value. NASCAR, whether they liked it or not, needed him. Mike Joy had been warning NASCAR. Their fan base was aging. Ratings showed older audiences tuning in, while younger fans checked out. Then McFarland came along and flipped the narrative. He was bringing teenagers, college kids, and 20-somethings who never watched a lap before. That's when Dale Jr. stepped in. He invited Cletus to his podcast, the Dale Jr. Download. They didn't just talk racing. They talked culture, YouTube, and how the sport needed to evolve. The episode became one of Dirty Mo Media's most popular. For Dale Jr., this wasn't just entertainment. It was a sign of where the sport had to go. But the real turning point came when Dale Jr. agreed to drive the Dale truck. The Dale truck isn't just some prop. It's a former NASCAR Craftsman truck, rebuilt as a drag monster, painted in tribute to Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s number 3. And when Dale Jr. got behind the wheel, he realized how serious this all was. He floored it, and within a split second, he panicked. The launch was so violent that his body slammed back, his foot came off the pedal, and he had to lift. Reviewing the data later, Cletus pointed out that Jr. dropped to 26%, throttle less than a tenth of a second into the run. Dale Jr. described it as a jump scare, like walking through haunted woods when someone jumps out with a chainsaw. That's how hard the truck hit, but instead of quitting, he asked to go again. The second run was smoother, and when he climbed out, he couldn't stop grinning. The bigger realization hit him later. If a drag truck could deliver that kind of rush, what must it feel like in NHRA top fuel at 300 miles per hour? Suddenly, Tony Stewart's transition from NASCAR to NHRA made perfect sense. Here's the harsh truth. NASCAR has been struggling with declining ratings and an aging audience. The average fan is in their 50s, and younger viewers aren't connecting with traditional broadcasts. Sponsors want fresh eyes, teams want packed stands, networks want ratings. Enter Cletus. He's everything NASCAR isn't. Unscripted, relatable, authentic. He crashes, laughs at himself, talks directly to fans, and brings them along. He doesn't hide mistakes behind PR spin. That's why young people love him. He feels real. It's the same formula Jake Paul used to revive boxing among Gen Z. Love him or hate him, he brought millions of fans to a fading sport. Now Cletus is doing the same for racing. He's bringing in new fans who never cared about lap averages or pit stops. They care about connection and feeling part of the action. For Dale Jr., this is both exciting and unnerving. He's NASCAR's ambassador, its bridge to modern culture. But even he admits what McFarland is doing highlights NASCAR's weakness. The old model, big TV deals, scripted promos, is cracking. And McFarland just proved it with YouTube streams pulling bigger numbers than traditional coverage. That's why Dale Jr. looks uneasy. It's not panic about losing his place, it's panic about what it means for the sport. If NASCAR can't adapt, Cletus won't just be a fun side story. He'll be the blueprint. This isn't just about one guy in a truck, it's about the future of the sport. NASCAR's survival depends on connecting with a new generation, and right now, Cletus McFarland is doing that better than anyone. If other creators follow his lead, and they will, then NASCAR has to decide, partner with them, or get left behind. Some insiders are already whispering about collaborations, influencer partnerships, and in-car streams. Others are resistant, clinging to tradition, but the data doesn't lie. Cletus has proven he can draw bigger numbers, louder crowds, and younger fans than many official NASCAR campaigns. That's not just entertainment, That's disruption. The fan response has been explosive. Social media erupts every time Cletus races, whether he wins or crashes. At Talladega, chants of his name could be heard in the stands. On YouTube, comment sections flood with people saying it's their first NASCAR race, and they loved it. That's gold for the sport, but terrifying for executives who realize a YouTuber might be doing their job better than they are. Older fans sometimes push back, calling him a sideshow. But even many of them admit they're watching, because love him or hate him, Cletus makes things exciting, and excitement is what NASCAR needs. In the end, the Cletus McFarland effect is bigger than one driver. It's proof the future of racing won't just be decided by lap times and sponsor deals. It will be decided by who can connect with fans and make people care again. NASCAR is at a crossroads, and Dale Jr. knows it. He's not panicking about losing relevance, he's panicking about the sport's ability to keep up. McFarland just showed the world that the next generation of racing fans isn't going to sit quietly in front of a TV on Sunday afternoons. They want interaction, access, and energy. And if NASCAR doesn't give it to them, Cletus McFarland will. The countdown has already started. Dale Jr. has seen it up close. NASCAR has felt the shockwaves. Cletus McFarland is here and he isn't slowing down. The question is whether NASCAR will accelerate with him or get left in the dust. Because one thing is clear. When a YouTuber can make Dale Earnhardt Jr. question the future of the sport, you know racing is on the edge of a revolution.
Denny Hamlin on the pole position alongside Kyle Larson. Race 2 of the playoffs. Let's go!
Denny Hamlin just won his 5th race of 2025 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, but what he said after crossing the finish line has everyone talking. For the first time ever, the 44-year-old driver revealed exactly when he plans to hang up his helmet. And the clock is ticking faster than anyone thought. When reporters asked Hamlin how he stays so focused at his age, his answer caught everyone off guard.
I knew exactly how many races were left, and it's like, the countdown has begun.
This wasn't some vague comment about retiring someday. Hamlin was dead serious about having an exact number. He went on to explain that he'll turn 45 the week after this season ends, and that leaves him just 2 more seasons after 2025. Do the math, and you're looking at roughly 70 races left in one of NASCAR's most successful careers. Hamlin even talked about a recent conversation with Kevin Harvick, saying, "I knew exactly how many races were left." But here's the kicker. Hamlin isn't planning to fade away quietly. He made it crystal clear that pride won't let him stick around past his prime.
There's just got to be a means to an end. I'm just not going to leave this sport on my deathbed. Just leaking oil, just running in the back of the pack. I have way too much pride for that. I'm way too cocky for that. There's just no way. I want to be able to win my last race.
This timeline means Hamlin has exactly 2 more shots at the Daytona 500, 2 more chances to finally win his first Brickyard 400, and most importantly, a rapidly closing window to capture that elusive first championship. When asked if winning the title would make him consider walking away on top, Hamlin didn't hesitate.
Sure, absolutely. Sounds like a good way to end.
Sunday's victory at Gateway wasn't just another win. It marked Toyota's 200th NASCAR Cup Series victory. With Hamlin claiming 56 of those wins, that ties him with Kyle Busch for the most Toyota victories ever. At 59 career wins, he's also just 1 away from tying Kevin Harvick at 60 wins. Tyler Gibbs from Toyota Racing Development put the milestone in perspective, saying it represents 19 years of partnership success across teams like Joe Gibbs Racing, 2311, and others. For Hamlin, who switched from Chevrolet to Toyota early in his career, the relationship runs deep.
Relationship with them. And so, I've got Toyota running through my blood, both top and bottom.
He said, referencing both his driving career and his ownership of 2311 racing with Michael Jordan. While Hamlin was celebrating and making retirement announcements, Shane Van Gisbergen was fighting for his NASCAR playoff life, and honestly, it wasn't going well. The New Zealand driver started 18th at Gateway, just 0.4 of a second behind Hamlin's pole-winning time. That looked promising, but things went downhill fast. Van Gisbergen climbed to 17th on the opening lap. But his car developed serious handling problems that never got fixed.
Oh, we're wrecking! It's Shane Van Gisbergen and the WeatherTech Chevrolet.
Caution, get it rolling here if you can. Barely touch the left rear on the wall. Should be fine. Get it turned right here, all good.
Over the radio, Van Gisbergen didn't hold back his frustration. "I feel useless," he told his crew after struggling with a car he described as very loose. The problems were consistent throughout the race. He'd show speed on restarts, but lose everything once the field spread out. "I'm good on a restart, but once it strings out, I've got nothing," he explained to his team.